Okay, dear friends, good evening. How are you? Today, as I have promised you earlier, I am not going to start any multiple choice question for you people, but you are having a lot of queries to ask from me. And today, I have to make a brief revision of the part second, that is colonialism. And after doing this job, then I will prefer to move towards the topic or part third, that is nationalism. तो आज मैं आप लोगों को थोड़ा सा रिवीजन वर्क करूंगा और फिर कुछ क्वेरीज अगर आपके होंगे तो आई विल एंटरटेन टुडे. So that's why I have not brought the 5 multiple choice questions, which is our routine course. Today I am not going to following this routine for your sake. So if you are having any specific question to ask me, you can. Otherwise, I am just moving to my I am moving to my own task, that is revision work you people have to do. A brief understanding of colonialism. Mr. Ankur, what is the condition? Oh, my students, actually I have used the term Victorial racial science. In Hindi that is called Victorial माने विक्टोरियाई नस्लीय विज्ञान. So actually I have specifically used this term in cultural part, that is called the cultural policy of financial capitalism or financial phase. So here I have given to you the information कि actually particularly after the Great Revolt of 1857, the British even discarded the pretension of to be liberal towards Indians. मतलब 1857 से पहले वो ये कम से कम एक नाटक करते थे, स्वांग रचते थे कि हम भारतीय के प्रति उदार हैं, लिबरल हैं. लेकिन 1857 के रिवोल्ट के बाद उन्होंने उस नाटक को भी छोड़ दिया. आफ्टर 1857 they even discarded the pretension of to be liberal towards Indians, and they consciously projected the so-called racist policy, the policy of racial discrimination against Indians. Indians were consciously projected to be barbarous and uncivilized. मतलब उन्होंने जानबूझकर भारतीयों का ऐसा चित्र खींचा कि ये बर्बर हैं या असभ्य हैं. And whatever perception they were having towards the races, so that was corroborated by Victorian science as well. Victorian science, according to Victorian science, the world was divided among different races, and some race was projected as the superior race and some inferior one. तो यहाँ पर आपको हमने सूचना यह दी है कि विक्टोरियन साइंस ने भी वही काम किया. उन्होंने डिफरेंट नस्ल को विभाजित करके यह दर्शाने का प्रयत्न किया कि इसमें कुछ सुपीरियर हैं और कुछ इंफीरियर हैं. So that is the perception of Victorian science, and that was going to conform to, or you can say correspond to, the British changing attitude towards Indians. Or Mr. Ankur? In 1929-30, not 28-30, 1929-30, Roshan. Actually, this is a very, you can say, complicated issue, and for that I need to discuss with you in the world history part. Whenever I will teach you the world history part, I will make you clear ki what is in exactly the economic depression, because it is not possible to make a briefing of the depression and its impact within 5 minutes or 4 minutes or 2 minutes. Actually मैं आपको जब वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री पढ़ाऊंगा तो वहां पर मैं आपको डिप्रेशन, उसका इम्पैक्ट, कैसे उसने कॉन्टेम्पररी पॉलिटिक्स को डायरेक्शन दिया, कैसे उसने कॉन्टेम्पररी इकोनॉमिक्स को ट्रांसफॉर्म किया. आई विल गिव यू द wide extent briefings and wide extent discussion about this so-called economic depression. But as you have put a question to me, asked a question from me, so here I am giving you you can say a very brief information. Brief information is that what you know as the you can say depression, so that is inherent in the a structure of capitalist economy, because in capitalist economy you will come to know that there is more and more emphasis over the production. Yes, more and more emphasis over the production, and the capitalist class, in their enthusiasm for maximizing the profit, they used to deprive their working class from their actual, you can say, salary. Means ki their salary was gradually cut down, the labor was replaced by machine. So their objective was to, in every production, to decrease the content of the labor and to increase the, you can say, profit on the capital. So as a result of which you can say कि because the working class is just playing the dual role. On the one hand, they were working in the factory in production. On the other hand, they are working as the market for the manufactured products or the industrial products. But as their purchasing power is day by day losing due to curtailment in salary, so the internal market is going to shrink. But the capitalist is not going to make a curtailment in production. So there is the problem of overproduction and under consumption. And this overproduction and under consumption led to economic depression. मैं इसको थोड़ा सा हिंदी में बोल देता हूँ, क्योंकि जो इंग्लिश वाले क्राउड है वो बेचैन हो रहे होंगे कि भाई मैं नहीं समझ पा रहा। देखिए, एक्चुअली इसमें होता यह है कि जो कैपिटलिज्म होता है, पूंजीवाद होता है, तो उसका तर्कशास्त्र में होता है मुनाफा, मुनाफा और अधिक मुनाफा, खूब प्रॉफिट कमाए। तो प्रॉफिट कमाने के उत्साह में वो क्या करता है कि अपने वर्कर्स को तनख्वाह नहीं देता है, कम देता है। उसके वर्कर्स डुअल रोल प्ले करते हैं। एक तो वो उत्पादन में, प्रोडक्शन में हिस्सा लेते हैं, दूसरा क्या करते हैं, वही उनके कंज्यूमर्स का भी काम करते हैं, मार्केट का भी काम करते हैं। तो उनका परचेजिंग पावर कम होता जाता है, तो डिमांड श्रिंक करता है। और ये जो कैपिटलिस्ट हैं वो अपने आदत से लाचार है, प्रोडक्शन तो कम नहीं कर सकते, तो ओवर प्रोडक्शन का समस्या और अंडर कंजम्पशन की समस्या आती है, इसलिए हो जाता है वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक डिप्रेशन। इसने पूरे वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री को ट्रांसफॉर्म किया। आई विल मेक यू अ थिंकिंग क्रिएचर। व्हेनेवर आई विल टीच यू द वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री पार्ट, देन आई विल मेक यू क्लियर कि how did it go to the Second World War, this world economic depression, and how the depression transformed the whole of the world politically, socially and culturally. Code of Gentoo laws was the laws formulated by Hindu, you can say formulated under Warren Hastings with the support of Hindu Pandits. And these were the traditional laws of India. And the laws meant for Hindus. Gentoo means Hindu. Code of Gentoo laws means ki laws of Hindus. And such code was formulated, Bhavna, such code was formulated by Warren Hastings consciously, because Warren Hastings was an Orientalist. Bhavna, you are well aware of the fact that Orientalists believed, in fact, the Indians should be ruled according to their own custom and tradition. So their laws should be, codified, so that they should be given the proper government. That is the point. मतलब उनका मानना था कि भाई हिंदुओं पर अगर आपको रूल करना है तो आपको हिंदुओं को उनके ट्रेडिशन, उनके रीति रिवाज, उनके कस्टम्स के अनुसार आप करिए, और इसी के लिए इसने लॉज को कोडिफाई किया था। What? Who has asked this question? Pramod, your question is not clear to me. Please clarify your question. Queen. I don't know. For the first time I have heard about it. Where have you read and what is the, actually I think there is some problem. Write it clearly so that I can come to understand. Oh, Deccan Relief Act of 1879. You people are asking me. I am making you clear. Actually, what happened? It happened that, in fact, Deccan region was a Rayatwari region, and it was a cotton producing region. But in India, there was the production of a short staple cotton. Short staple cotton, was in vogue in India, was in production in India. But in Europe, there was the demand of the long staple cotton. And America was a great supplier of cotton to Europe. But it was in 1861, American Civil War started, which had continued till 1865. So, for the 4 to 5 years, as the supply line of America was disrupted in Europe, so the British alternatively encouraged the peasants of Deccan to produce the long staple cotton, and then the peasants of Deccan produced the cotton in larger quantity, which was supplied in Europe. So they reaped some profit. But unfortunately for them, this civil war ended in 1865 and the cotton supply from America was resumed. So there was a sharp decline in the demand of the cotton from Deccan. So the American peasants were facing the condition of economic depression. And during this period, you can say, in order, actually the additional factor was, and to their woes, the further addition was the cruel decision of the government to enhance the rate of tax on the Deccan peasantry. So already they were suffering from the economic crisis. In the meantime, there was the enhancement of the tax. In order to save their land, they rushed towards the door of money lenders, and they borrowed the money from money lenders in order to save their land and pay up the amount of land revenue. So they were heavily indebted and they fell into a debt cycle. So out of frustration, they started to attack on the houses of the money lenders and to burn their hand notes or the documents, so that the money lenders should not have captured their land, or you can say captured their land. So this, and it started from one village and spread to the different villages. So it is known in history as Deccan's Riots, Deccan ke Dange, and it led towards the enactment of the Deccan Relief Act of 1879, because the government took the timely action and responded to the crisis of the peasants, and then the government enforced this so-called the Deccan Peasants Relief Act. My students, for English medium students, I am making you clear कि एक्चुअली इन दक्कन में छोटे रेशे वाले कपास होते थे और अमेरिका में बड़े रेशे वाले कपास होते थे, लॉन्ग स्टेपल कॉटन, और अमेरिकी कपास का ज़्यादा डिमांड था यूरोप में। तो अमेरिका में एक गृह युद्ध छिड़ गया, सिविल वॉर। तो चूंकि गृह युद्ध छिड़ गया, तो इन द मीन टाइम इन्होंने दक्कन से, ब्रिटिश लोगों ने दक्कन के पीजेंट्स को इनकरेज किया कि आप अपना कपास सप्लाई करो। इन्होंने बड़े रेशे वाले कपास सप्लाई किया, कुछ पैसे भी कमाए। 1865 में गृह युद्ध समाप्त हो गया, सिविल वॉर, और फिर उनका कपास अमेरिकन आने लगा, तो इनका कपास का डिमांड कम हो गया, मतलब बहुत गिर गया। तो ये खुद इकोनॉमिक क्राइसिस में थी और गवर्नमेंट ने ऊपर से टैक्स बढ़ा दिया, इनके लैंड पर रेवेन्यू बढ़ा दिया। तो ये डेट ट्रैप में फंस गए, मतलब ऋण जाल में फंस गए, और तब महाजनों के पास गए पैसे के लिए, तो महाजन के कर्जदार बन गए। अब इनको डर हुआ कि मेरी जमीन नीलाम हो जाएगी, तो इन्होंने महाजनों के घर पर धावा बोलकर उनके जो पेपर थे उसको जलाने शुरू कर दिए, इनको डेक्कन राइट्स बोलते हैं। 1879 में इनके रिलीफ के लिए डेक्कन कृषक सहायता कानून, डेक्कन एग्रीकल्चर रिलीफ एक्ट पारित हुआ। इस वॉज द केस। पोर्टफोलियो सिस्टम, एक्चुअली देखो, आई हैव told you and I have made you understand so many times. I have told you, in fact, in Governor General's Council, actually, in order to give support to Governor General, a portfolio system was introduced in 1861. मतलब earlier, you can say, the Governor General used to talk to all the 5 ministers or 5 members in the council collectively, but now separate department was allocated each of them, and the Governor General had to visit one of them singly, so that the Governor General got the power to, you can say, overpower a single member. But if they used to talk to Governor General collectively, so the Governor General was not in a position to, you can say, pressurize them. But if the Governor General had to deal with separately, so the Governor General could have create a pressure over a single portfolio. So it enhance the power of Governor General vis-a-vis its council. मतलब पहले जो 5 मेंबर्स होते थे उनको गवर्नर जनरल कलेक्टिवली बात करता था, अब सबके लिए अलग अलग पोर्टफोलियो बना दिया और अलग अलग उनसे बात करने लगा, तो उससे गवर्नर जनरल का पावर इनहेंस हुआ, उसकी पावर जो है वो बढ़ गया। क्यों पावर बढ़ गया गवर्नर जनरल का? गवर्नर जनरल का पावर क्यों बढ़ गया, क्यों इंक्रीज किया? क्योंकि अब वो अकेला मेंबर से डील करता था जिसको वो ओवर पावर कर सकता था। अब मैं आगे बढ़ना चाहता हूं क्योंकि ये लोग कॉलोनियलिज्म की बातें नहीं पूछ रहे हैं और मुझे लगता है कि यूजलेस टॉक्स हो रहा है। अब माय स्टूडेंट्स, आई एम गोइंग टू डिस्कस विथ यू if any important and significant question you find that is concerning colonialism as a whole, you can ask me. Mr. Ankur, inform me. Okay, that is 5-year scheme. It was introduced by Warren Hastings. Warren Hastings, actually it was the part of the farming system, and the earlier, you can say, settlement was done by Warren Hastings for 5 years for this farming system. So that is called this settlement, you know. My students, I am giving a briefing of colonialism as a whole. Then I will ask you certain question. No problem, Ankur? Everything is okay?
Yes.
My students, the history of modern India has to be divided among 4 parts or 4 segments. The first part is the history of 18th century. The second part is the history of colonialism. The third part is the history of nationalism, which I am going to start today. And the fourth part is the post-independence era. So my friends, the history of 18th century I have already finished. For the sake of your convenience, I have divided the history of 18th century in 2 parts. The first part is the disintegration of the Mughal Empire and the rise of the regional states. मतलब पहले पार्ट में मैंने आपको बताया कि मुगल साम्राज्य का विघटन हुआ और क्षेत्रीय राज्यों की स्थापना हुई. In the second part of, or you can say in the second half of 18th century, you will come to know the basic central idea of the topic was the advent of European companies in Europe, advent of European companies in India, and the transformation of the British company from mercantile company to a political power up to 1765, means की the Treaty of Allahabad. मतलब सेकेंड हाफ में मैंने आपको बताया कि कैसे यूरोपीय कंपनी का भारत में आई थी और किस तरह जो ब्रिटिश कंपनी है वो एक मर्केंटाइल, एक व्यापारिक कंपनी से राजनीतिक शक्ति में ढल गई. Then my student, that part has been finished, and then we have started colonialism. Then first of all, I have made you clear. In fact, whenever you are making a study of colonialism, so keep one thing in your mind, कि what is capitalism in metropolitan state? So that is colonialism in a colony. मतलब जो कि मातृ देश में पूंजीवाद है वह उपनिवेश में उपनिवेशवाद है. And then I have made you clear, in fact, in Britain, for example, if there was the mercantile phase of colonialism, mercantile phase of capitalism, in India, there was the mercantile phase of colonialism. If in Britain there was the industrial phase of capitalism, then in India there was the industrial phase of colonialism. If in Britain there was the financial phase of colonialism, then in Britain there was the financial phase of capitalism. In India there was the financial phase of colonialism. So my friends, in mercantile phase, the British used to collect the, you can say, plundered the goods from India and sold them in Britain and Europe, and then reaped the profit, and the profit was distributed among shareholders. मतलब कि जो वाणिज्यिक चरण था, वाणिज्यिक चरण में जो उनके यहाँ वाणिज्यिक पूंजीवाद है, हमारे यहाँ वाणिज्यिक चरण का उपनिवेशवाद है, उस चरण में उन्होंने हमारे वस्तुओं को, हमारे गुड्स को इंडिया में लूटा और उस गुड्स को उन्होंने बड़ा औने पौने दाम में, मतलब हमारे ही रेवेन्यू से उस गुड्स को परचेज करके ले गए, एक तरह से उसको हम लूट कर सकते, और उसको ब्रिटेन और यूरोप में बेच के प्रॉफिट कमाया और शेयर होल्डर्स में बांटा. But from 1813 onwards, you know, they introduced the industrial capitalism in India, and then they converted India into the market for British manufactured goods and the supplier of raw materials. लेकिन दूसरे चरण में चूंकि उनका इंडस्ट्रियल रेवोल्यूशन स्टार्ट हो गया, इसलिए उन्होंने इंडिया को एक मार्केट के रूप में ट्रांसफॉर्म किया ब्रिटिश मैन्युफैक्चर्ड गुड्स का, माने एक बाजार के रूप में तब्दील कर दिया ब्रिटिश वस्तुओं का, और हम एक कच्चे माल का सप्लायर बना दिया, माने सप्लायर ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल्स. And in financial phase which started from 1860, they exported capital from Britain to India, and this capital came either in the form of investment or in loan. In the form of investment, it reaped the profit, and as a loan, it took the interest, and it returned the money in the form of interest and profit to Britain. मतलब added money you can say. तो इनके लिए बेनिफिशियल था कि जब ये वित्तीय चरण में आए तो वहां से पूंजी को निर्यात किया इंडिया में, जो निवेश के रूप में भी आया और कर्ज के रूप में भी आया. निवेश पर उनको मुनाफा मिला और कर्ज पर उनको ब्याज मिला. आई थिंक इज दिस पॉइंट क्लियर. तो मैं स्टूडेंट्स, व्हाट वॉज द डिमांड ऑफ द ब्रिटिश कैपिटलिज्म? तो एग्जैक्टली दे जस्ट एक्सप्लॉइटेड इंडियन इकोनॉमी according to their own need. Here I have already informed you about the fact what is colonialism. Colonialism is a system in which a metropolitan state or a mother state, or you can say one state or one country, captures another country or the region and started to exploit its resources for its own profit. So that is called colonialism. मतलब कि उपनिवेशवाद एक ऐसी पद्धति होती है जिसमें एक देश दूसरे देश की पर कब्जा कर लेता है और उसकी जो इकोनॉमी होती है उसको उसका दोहन करता है, उसका एक्सप्लॉइटेशन करता है अपने लाभ के लिए. उसको हम कॉलोनियलिज्म कहते हैं. अब कॉलोनियलिज्म का भी 3 फेजेज हुआ. तो हियर आई हैव टू इन्फॉर्म यू, इन द फर्स्ट फेज ऑफ कॉलोनियलिज्म व्हिच स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम 1757 to 1813. तो ड्यूरिंग दिस पीरियड द ब्रिटिश ऑब्जेक्टिव वाज क्रिस्टल क्लियर. क्रिस्टल क्लियर, कल भी एक बच्चे ने पूछा था, क्रिस्टल क्लियर का मतलब होता है, क्रिस्टल आप देखते हो ना, एक स्टोन होता है जो बहुत व्हाइट होता है. क्रिस्टल का मतलब स्पष्ट, मतलब एक वेरी क्लियर. सो इट इज क्रिस्टल क्लियर यू कैन से. इन फैक्ट ड्यूरिंग द मर्केंटाइल फेज ऑफ कॉलोनियलिज्म यू विल कम टू नो कि अप टू 1765 द ब्रिटिश गॉट द दीवानी ऑफ बंगाल. So British started to collect the revenue from Bengal. So the British objective was maximize the collection of revenue and to invest a part of revenue in purchasing of tradable goods. मतलब कि in trade. मतलब देखो, ब्रिटिश कंपनी का कॉन्सेप्ट बिल्कुल क्लियर हो गया 1765 के बाद कि देखिए, हमको बंगाल का जो रेवेन्यू है, राजस्व है, उसका एक बड़ा भाग बचाकर वहां से हमको व्यापारिक वस्तुएं खरीदनी है. वी हैव टू परचेज द ट्रेडेबल गुड्स. तो यही उनका लक्ष्य था. तो सपोज यू आर मैक्सिमाइजिंग द, यू कैन से, कलेक्शन ऑफ रेवेन्यू. तो दैट इज नॉट सफिशिएंट. अपार्ट फ्रॉम मैक्सिमाइजिंग द रेट ऑफ लैंड रेवेन्यू, you are also supposed to save the money so that a substantial part could be invested. So they just try to shed off the extra responsibilities so that the maximum amount could be saved for investment in trade. So that objective was going to affect their political policy, administrative policy, social policy and cultural policy. Because colonialism is basically an economic relation, but it was going to affect political structure, social structure, cultural structure all. मतलब मैंने आपको बताया है कि आप हमेशा याद रखना कि उपनिवेशवाद होता है मूलतः आर्थिक संबंध, लेकिन वो राजनीतिक ढांचे को भी प्रभावित करता है, सामाजिक ढांचे को भी प्रभावित करता है और सांस्कृतिक ढांचे को भी प्रभावित करता है. तो ड्यूरिंग दिस फेज यू नो कि पॉलिटिकल पॉलिसी वाज वेरी क्लियर. पॉलिटिकल पॉलिसी वाज क्लियर इन दैट सेंस कि they followed, because they have not to spend too much money over war and annexation. So their avowed goal was to avoid the war and annexation as much as possible. मतलब although they had to fight a war, they had to fight too many wars and they had to annex some regions as well. But you can say कि their objective was to avoid the war and annexation as much as possible. मतलब इस समय उनकी कोशिश यह थी कि जितना कम हम युद्ध लड़ सके, जितना कम हम क्षेत्रों का विलय कर सके उतना बढ़िया है, क्योंकि उनको मनी सेव करना था, पैसा बचाना था. So they followed the policy of ring fence. अब you can ask me कि what is the policy of ring fence? तो हिंदी में कहते हैं घेरे की नीति. घेरे की नीति. What is घेरे की नीति? This policy is to encircle the enemy countries with the support of the friendly countries. You are just going to encircle your enemy countries with support of the friendly countries. So that is called Ghere ki niti. That is called the policy of ring fence. And this policy of ring fence was a larger policy, and even subsidiary alliance was a part of it. Because you know already the fact that the objective of subsidiary alliance was to create a vast British army at the cost of the Indian states. But the British could create a very big army in India, and this big army British created at the cost of the Indian states. तो इसको बोलते हैं सहायक संधि, subsidiary alliance. So in this way you can say that was this part is complete. Then you are observing here during this period you people are supposed to recall starting 3 governors: Robert Clive, Verlest, Cartier. I will ask you what took place during the period of which governor? Can you inform me? Are you in a position to? That is Verlest and First Anglo-Mysore War. Then you are coming to after Cartier, Robert Clive, Verlest, Cartier, 3 governors, Warren Hastings up to 1785. Then the successor of Warren Hastings was Cornwallis, and then the successor of Cornwallis was John Shore, no war. Then comes Lord Wellesley, 2 wars. Then comes Earl of Minto. So I think the war and everything is clear. Then in administrative policy, their policy was to maintain the traditional structure with certain modification. So during this period, you will find the British took interest either in carrying reforms in land revenue system, because which was the maximization of land revenue system was their objective, or to make some reforms in judicial system, as the judicial system was the part of, particularly the civil justice was the part of the land revenue system. मतलब इस समय इनकी कोशिश यही थी कि हम परंपरागत मुगल ढांचे, प्रशासन के ढांचे को बनाए रखें, और अगर उन्होंने परिवर्तन भी लाया है तो भू राजस्व पद्धति में लाया है या फिर न्याय पद्धति में लाया है, विशेषकर जिसको दीवानी न्याय या सिविल जस्टिस कहते हो, क्योंकि वो लैंड रेवेन्यू से जुड़ा हुआ था. इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसी यू फाइंड कि ओरिजिन ऑफ ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ, धन की निकासी आरंभ हुई, एंड द डिक्लाइन ऑफ हैंडीक्राफ्ट्स इन बंगाल. And in social policy, to maintain the traditional structure, because there was no use of bringing reforms in society, because it might have antagonized the Indians, and Indians might have turned to be hostile towards the British, but without any use, because it was not beneficial for the British at this time. So they avoided reforms, social reforms at that time. तो उनकी कोशिश यह थी कि वे सामाजिक ढांचे में छेड़छाड़ ना करें, क्योंकि इंडियन नाहक में गुस्सा खा जाएंगे, उससे हमें कोई फायदा भी नहीं है. एंड ओरिएंटलिज्म का मतलब हिंदी में प्राच्यवाद होता है. मतलब इस समय मोस्ट ऑफ द ऑफिसर्स दे रिमेन ओरिएंटलिस्ट इन देयर अप्रोच. दे ट्राई टू मेंटेन द ट्रेडिशनल स्ट्रक्चर, एंड दे promoted the idea कि India should be ruled by their own customs and traditions. So that is called Orientalism. Buffer state means कि between the two states, if you are, that is in Hindi called madhyavarti state, a middle state. Suppose some state could annex your region, so in order to save your interest in your own country, you have consciously created a buffer state, because if some invaders prefers to invade on you, so he is supposed to cross first the buffer state, then they will reach to you. So a buffer state will give you some safety. Students are going to be clear, Mr. Ankur? Any confusion? Now, my students, here you just come to know that is dual government. I have already taught you कि in fact Diwani power, British captured the Diwani power directly and captured the administrative power indirectly. I have also given to you in the study material. So the direct capture of Diwani power, but indirect capture of, you can say, administrative power. So that is known as dual system. A post of deputy Nawab was created. Mr. Ankur, just increase the cooling. Actually, a post of deputy Nawab or deputy Najim was created, and all the power of the Nawab was divested from his post, and it was, you can say, devolved to the post of deputy Nawab. But on the post of deputy Nawab, only that officer might be appointed for which the British company could have given the recommendation. एक तरह से ब्रिटिश ने क्या किया, बड़ी चालाकी से जो प्रशासन की शक्ति, नवाब की शक्ति थी, उस पर भी कब्जा कर लिया, लेकिन डायरेक्ट नहीं, फेस नवाब ही बना रहा, और दीवानी पावर को डायरेक्ट तो मिल ही गया था मुगल इंपेरर से उसको, तो इसी को डायरेक्ट की बोलते। सो माय स्टूडेंट्स, दिस इज, यू नो, कि mercantile phase. Now you are coming to industrial phase. In industrial phase, as the economic interest was going to change, so as you know, the basic relationship is the economic relation, but it was going to affect the political, administrative, social and cultural structure as well. So here you come to know, as objective was to convert India as a market for the British manufactured goods and the supplier of raw materials. Okay. So here you come to know that here the political policy was, because now if India had to develop as the market for British manufactured goods and supplier of raw materials, so it is wise a step on the part of the British company to annex more and more regions under the and bring the regions under the direct control. मतलब यहाँ पर मैंने आपको बताया था कि चूंकि अब इंडिया को अब ब्रिटिश वस्तुओं के बाजार के रूप में और कच्चे माल के निर्यातक के रूप में डेवलप करना चाहते हैं, इसलिए इनकी कोशिश यह थी कि हम ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा जो रीजन है उसको डायरेक्ट कंट्रोल में लाएं। तो दैट्स वाई फ्रॉम लॉर्ड हेस्टिंग्स टू डलहौजी ऑल द गवर्नर जनरल्स just followed the policy of unrestricted expansion. So this era is marked by the wider political expansion. Up here I am giving the suggestion, in order to make yourself conceptually clear and thinking creature, just try to link the first phase to the second phase and try to find out how did the change take place, how was the change, how were the changes going on. So just try to find out from mercantile phase to industrial phase. In administrative phase you find the overall transformation, because earlier the British emphasized over maintaining the Mughal administrative structure with certain modification, but now they preferred the wide extent changes, because it was the time in Britain there was the rise of the new school of thought, that is liberalism and utilitarianism, and liberalism and utilitarianism were also advocating for changes in India. मतलब कि एक तो उनकी कॉलोनियल इंटरेस्ट तो 80% है ही, और 20% आइडियोलॉजी का भी इम्पैक्ट है, क्योंकि जो लिबरलिज्म, जो उदारवाद और उपयोगितावादी विचारधारा है, वो भी कहती है कि रिफॉर्म्स लाइए इंडिया में, 80% इसको कंट्रीब्यूशन दे दो रिफॉर्म्स के लिए, और 20% इसको। That's all. Yes. Which one? Complete. Repeat the whole question again. Oh, Anas, you are not clear. In fact, mercantilism and industrial phase, that is clear, but why are you adding the term colonialism? Colonialism term is all inclusive. It includes mercantilism, mercantile phase, industrial phase and financial phase. These three phases are the part of the same colonialism. So you are asking me ki what difference between colonialism, mercantilism and industrial phase? No. You should ask me what changes occur during mercantile phase and during industrial phase of colonialism, because colonialism is common between the two. So here my answer is, definitely you can say in mercantile phase there was the plundering of Indian products, but not major change. The major change occurred during this industrial phase. So just observe and go through my study material. Here major changes, here the economy was completely transformed, here the social reforms, because social reforms were initiated so that Indians could have accepted the English education. यहाँ पर देखो सामाजिक सुधार पर विशेष बल दिया गया ताकि भारतीय अंग्रेजी शिक्षा को एक्सेप्ट कर लें. And in cultural you can say liberalism and utilitarian ideas, they were quite opposed to Orientalist ideas, because Orientalist ideas preferred the study of Indian past and culture. Orientalist ideas was having the praise for Indian past and culture, and liberalism and utilitarianism were the great critic of Indian past and culture, and they pleaded for reforms in India. मतलब ये जो उदारवाद और उपयोगितावाद है वो प्राच्यवाद का ठीक उलट है. प्राच्यवाद कहता है कि भारत का अतीत और संस्कृति अच्छा है, और उदारवाद और उपयोगितावाद कहता है कि नहीं, भारतीय जो अतीत और संस्कृति है वो पतनशील है, वो डिक्लाइनिंग है, उसको रिफॉर्म्स करिए. तो ये सब जितने हैं इनका रिलेशनशिप इनसे है. You have to understand this point. So in this way you have to observe the changes. Then you are coming to financial phase. Here not one factor, here two factors. Apart from, you can say, to open India for British capital investment, because this is the financial phase of capitalism, you know. So to open India for the British capital investment, that was the one objective. But the second one objective was they learnt a lot of lesson from the Great Revolt of 1857. So their objective was to avoid the recurrence of the Great Revolt of 1857. So the objective of their policy was that such an, you can say, unwanted event should not have been repeated again in future. So in both the objectives are going to affect the British policy here, which I have finished yesterday. So my students, this is the briefings of, here you can say, the Queen Victoria's declaration, and political policy was to promote the indirect control in place of direct control. Here in administrative, you know, on the one hand to tighten the grip over India, but on the other hand try to bring Indians into good humor. मतलब एक तरफ वो चाहते थे कि हम भारत पर नियंत्रण मजबूत करें, दूसरी तरफ भारतीयों में भी असंतोष ना हो. In economy, I have already taught you the home charges, drain of wealth, what relationship existed there, the rise of modern industries, etc. And in social policy, I have discussed with you the policy of non-intervention, मतलब सामाजिक क्षेत्र में हस्तक्षेप से उन्होंने परहेज किया, और सांस्कृतिक क्षेत्र में I have told ये racial mistakenly, हाँ, racial division first, then commercial division, तो communal division. So that is the point here. So I think this point is okay. Any question further, so that now I have to move to the topic of nationalism. Arlof, मतलब क्या? It is the name. Arlof Minto is a Governor General of Bengal who ruled between 1807 and 1813. What extra information about Arlof Minto? Know what occurred during his period? Mansi, this question I have to ask you, but rather I am asking to my all of my students. Please reply my question very fastly. If I am going to ask you, which phase of colonialism damaged Indian economy, you can say which phase of you can say colonialism damaged Indian economy too much, or damaged Indian economy larger way, either mercantile phase or industrial phase. My students, my question is there. Once again, I am repeating the question: which phase of colonialism put the larger impact on Indian economy, either mercantile phase or industrial phase? Yes. Who have asked this question? She has been replied. Mansi, your question has been replied by other students. That is obviously industrial phase. Maybe Mansi, you might have joined a bit late. Otherwise, I have raised this question in the very early time, and you people have just accepted that in industrial phase they transformed our economy. They transformed our economy very badly. My economy took a very bad shape. Up to today, we have not been recovered from the legacy of British industrial capitalism. Even in today's rural India, what you find is that you can say the mismatch between the agrarian economy and the village industry. Government is today suffering from this problem. Manrega is the largest world employment program, but we have not, even this could not recover the rural economy from the problem of unemployment due to the decline of handicraft industries. That is the British legacy in India in the rural areas. आज तक हम ब्रिटिश जो औद्योगिक पूंजीवाद है, इंडस्ट्रियल कैपिटलिज्म है, उसके लेगेसी से हम कहाँ उबर पाए हैं, उसकी विरासत से हम नहीं उबर पाए हैं. तो सबसे अधिक अगर डैमेज किया है तो इंडस्ट्रियल फेज ऑफ इकोनॉमी. यू पीपल आर राइट. अब माय स्टूडेंट्स, कैन आई मूव टू पार्ट थर्ड, नेशनलिज्म. Who has asked the question? The pure theory of rent theory has been given by David Ricardo. Although it is a bit complicated theory, if I will just mention this theory in totality, that may create a lot of confusion for you. So I am giving you the brief idea. Actually, David Ricardo, basically he was an industrialist and he has given a theory. What was his theory? His theory was landlords are the rent-seeking landlords. They are not having any role in production. They are just like the parasites, and they are taking a part of the production without any labor, any effort, and simply on the basis of their claim of ownership on land, they are taking a part of the production, but they are not having any role in the production. So they are just like the parasites. Even if you are going to tax the landlords or deprive the landlords from the benefit, it will hardly affect the production. मतलब उनका कहना था कि देखो, ये जो जमींदार लोग होते हैं, ये लोग कुछ नहीं करते हैं, ये अपने पूर्वजों से लैंड पाते हैं और अपने लैंड का मालिक होने का दावा करके जो प्रोडक्शन है उसका एक बड़ा अंश खींचते रहते हैं, जबकि इनका प्रोडक्शन में कोई रोल नहीं होता है. तो इनको अगर टैक्स लगा देंगे इनके ऊपर, या इनको अगर आप हटा देंगे मिडल मैन से, तो इससे आपको बेनिफिट होगा और इससे आपकी इकोनॉमी और ग्रो करेगी. तो ये बेसिकली डेविड रिकार्डो का थियरी था, रिकार्डोज रेंट थियरी. मैं इसलिए भी हिंदी में बोल देता हूँ, मैं इंग्लिश मीडियम स्टूडेंट. डू यू नॉट फील ऑफेंडेड, यू शुड नॉट फील ऑफेंडेड, बिकॉज सम इंग्लिश स्टूडेंट्स आर देयर and on daily basis they are just so I think even English medium students may be a bit comfortable, क्योंकि देखो आप कुछ इंग्लिश मीडियम में भी हो तो आपको लिखना तो इंग्लिश में पड़ेगा. तो अगर सर्टेन वर्ड्स पर आप केयरफुल नहीं रहोगे तो यू कैन नॉट राइट, और इफ यू नॉट राइट देन हाउ कैन यू मैनेज इन द एग्जामिनेशन हॉल. So my students, even my English medium students are requested to just increase the, you can say, some vocabulary and just try to communicate with me in English itself. That is beneficial for you. क्योंकि राइटिंग में तो आपको जरूरत पड़ेगी ही ना. सो दिस पॉइंट इज ओके. सो आई थिंक अब अंकुर, शुड आई मूव नाउ? यस. अब नाउ वी आर कमिंग टू पार्ट थर्ड. दिस इज द लार्जर पार्ट. एंड अंकुर, my students have received their study material yesterday? They are okay? My students, please give me the clue. Have you received the study material of nationalism, part third, the first material? Please be fast. Inform me. Inform me. Why no? Why no? What is the system? Is Naren online? App पर upload है my students. You are getting late. Keep one thing in my mind. Whenever I start a topic, I am always sending my study material in advance. And I hope that you people have to go through the study material first. All of you are requested to download the study material, and I think you get it its form. Ankur, yesterday you have sent it. What is the situation? What is their response? Have they received or not? नहीं, वो क्या बोल रहे हैं? ओहो. Is there any not messaging system? After uploading, this would be given the message. I will talk to Naren after the class. My students, you are requested to, how can I teach you without study material today? You people are not going through the study material. Please, I am doing something. Keep one thing in your mind. When my material would be likely to be finished in the meantime, Acha, just tell me, inform me. Have you received all the study material till financial colonialism? Colonial phase of study material you have received, because I have sent each and every study material. Please inform me. Have you received all the study material so far of colonialism, including financial page? Okay, so please, today you people will just make an access to the study material today. I'll just inform it in the next one class, Ankur. Actually, I should have given them the information yesterday alone. Nationalism, the same study material you will receive here. Modern part 3rd. You have entered into part 3rd. Very systematically you have to go through. What does nationalism imply? Western thoughts on Indian nationalism, first view, second view. Modern transport and communication. Population census. The opposition by the Indian scholars. Difference between the Western model and Indian model of nationalism. Question: can you state that the rise of nationalism in India was the contribution of the British rule? Now make me clear. Just let me, then I will just go through the pages as well, so that you have to miss nothing. Firstly, someone is going to ask you the question, what is nationalism? What is nationalism and what does the term nationalism imply? मतलब राष्ट्रवाद क्या है, राष्ट्रवाद से तात्पर्य क्या है? To a sense of belonging to. Nationalism implies a sense of belonging to. Belonging to among the people. दिखा नहीं रहा, चल नहीं रहा. Okay. Yes. Okay, my students, I am extremely sorry. Network issue was there. So sometime you will find network issue. You have not to be impatient. You have to simply wait for, because it is beyond my control. So you can very well understand my position. I myself was actually to a country and a nation. In a state or a country, you can say that there must be a region, a territory. Territory is one feature. Second one feature is population. Territory, population. Territory, population, here you can say that is territory, population, government and even sovereignty. But one thing is missing here. This country or state is internally divided. The people are not having a sense of belonging to each other. मतलब जो एक राज्य होता है, उस राज्य में जनसंख्या होती है, भूभाग होता है, सरकार होती है, संप्रभुता भी होती है, लेकिन एक चीज जो हम मिसिंग होता है, उस क्षेत्र में जो रहने वाले लोग होते हैं उनमें आपस में जुड़ाव नहीं होता है. मीन्स कि द पीपल हु आर लिविंग इन द रीजन आर नॉट हैविंग अ सेंस ऑफ बिलोंगिंग टू ईच अदर. दैट इज द लैकिंग पॉइंट. ओके, द सेम थिंग. ओके ओके my students, this is my first one example. First one example is that I have asked you the question earlier. Sorry. I have asked you the question earlier कि nationalism implies what? मतलब राष्ट्रवाद से तात्पर्य क्या है? तो my answer is कि a sense of belonging to among the people living in a specific region. मतलब एक खास क्षेत्र में जो निवास करने वाले लोग होते हैं उनमें आपस में जो जुड़े होने का भाव होता है वही राष्ट्रवाद है. मीन्स कि नेशनलिज्म implies a sense of belonging to among the people who are residing in the specific region or who are living in the specific region. ये इसको हम नेशनलिज्म एकदम इसको मैं कह सकते हूँ क्रूड टर्म में, दैट इज द क्रूड टर्म ऑफ नेशनलिज्म. अब हियर आई हैव गिवन इन द एग्जांपल कि दिस इज ए स्टेट और ए कंट्री. स्टेट और ए कंट्री मतलब स्टेट इज नॉट अ प्रोविंस, मतलब एन स्टेट और ए कंट्री, एंड दिस इज नेशन. So what is the difference between a state and a nation? There is the difference. In a state there is territory, population, government and sovereignty. मतलब कि कोई जो एक राज्य है उसमें भूभाग होगा, जनसंख्या होगी, सरकार भी होगी और संप्रभुता भी होगी. संप्रभुता हो भी सकती है, नहीं भी, लेकिन होगी या नहीं भी हो सकती. लेकिन बट जनसंख्या यानी पॉपुलेशन, territory and government must be there, and sovereignty might be, may be or not may be. In case of a nation you can say कि all these things should be there, but apart from that here the missing point is that people are not having a sense of belonging to each other. But here you know there is all people are on equal footing and they are having a sense of belonging to. If they are having a sense of belonging to each other, so that is nation. क्योंकि इसमें क्या है कि लोगों में एक होने का भाव है. That is nation. In Germany, I will teach you the world history because I am excited. My own perception is world history will give you a sense of completeness of knowledge of humanities subject. I have particularly delivered a lecture on this issue. In what way the world history is useful for you. On the same you can say the Khan Global site, that is the Khan Global, na? Ankur? So that is the Khan Global site na? YouTube, Khan Global. I have delivered a lecture, so you people can go through, although that is in Hindi, not in English. But you people who can understand Hindi as well, you can just watch the lecture. So I have particularly there discussed what is the role of world history. Suppose I have to clarify the idea of nationalism. So I am compelled here to move to world history first. That is the basic problem, because without the knowledge of world history, all the isms in the world, all the isms which are prevailing in all the subjects, whether it may be sociology, political science, history, you can say philosophy, all are having their root in the world history. Because gradually you can say when the human beings in the different parts of the world started their life as a stone using man, and they reached up to the artificial intelligence. So whosoever have understood the evolution of this, you can say, mankind and civilization of the world, so that is having the true knowledge of world history in one sense. तो ये हुआ basically दोनों में फर्क. अब here I have to inform you कि in fact there is a German thinker whose name was John. He has given a very apt remark कि without nation a state is an artificial structure, and without a state a nation is you can say a shapeless phantom. A shapeless phantom मतलब in हिंदी कि बिना राष्ट्र का राज्य एक कृत्रिम संरचना है, मतलब नेचुरल नहीं है. तो बिना राज्य का राष्ट्र एक आकारहीन भूत है. बिकॉज नेशनलिज्म इज एन आइडिया. स्टेट इज, यू कैन से, स्टेट इज a physical expression because there is territory, population, government, and nation is an idea of belonging to. So whenever you are just, you can say, adding the idea, you are making an addition of the idea of belonging to the state. So then it takes the form of a nation state. So that is the meaning of the nation state, Now here I have to inform you what today you know as the nation states, its origin in Europe. In Europe, you can see there was the rise of nation state gradually. Be mentally alert. This is Europe. During medieval Europe, you will come to know, and in medieval period of Europe, you will come to know, in medieval period of Europe, the whole Europe was actually, there were at least three, although three, but at least you can count two pan-European institutions. One pan-European institutions was feudalism. Feudalism was a type of the government and structure, because up to this period, there was the decline of monarchy, and between the monarch and the people, a group of intermediaries emerged. There was the rise of a group of intermediaries. They were the middlemen. They were known as duke, baron, knight, etc. So they were called the feudal lords. मतलब मैं आपको बताना चाहता, सामंतवाद यहाँ डिटेल में तो नहीं बता पाऊंगा, वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री में बता दूंगा। यहाँ पर मैं सिर्फ आपको यह बता रहा कि एक्चुअली फ्यूडलिज्म का हिंदी में सामंतवाद होता है, और इसका मीनिंग ये होता है कि जो किंग है, राजा है, उसका पोजीशन डिक्लाइन हो गया, और जो कॉमन पीपल है और राजा के बीच कोई डायरेक्ट रिलेशनशिप नहीं रहा, और उनके बीच आप देखोगे तो ये ड्यूक है, जैसे ये आप मान के चलिए किंग है, तो किंग की स्थिति अब वीक हो गई है, ये ड्यूक है, ये बैरन, दैट इज बैरन, and that is knight. So duke, baron, knight, that is another name is for the duke is, this is duke, king, duke, baron, knight. King is a simply titular head. It is not owning army nor bureaucracy. The king was depending over the duke for the extra expenditure or tax, you can say, and the duke used to give a lump sum amount to king for his subsistence, not regular tax. Baron was giving tax to duke and knight to baron, and the common people are not having any connectivity with the king. मतलब एक हायरार्की, एक ढांचा बना हुआ है, एक मध्यवर्ती ढांचा, जिसमें जो किंग है वो सबके सीट्स पर है, सबके हेड पर है, और ड्यूक उसके अंदर है, लेकिन वो किंग पर डिपेंड नहीं करता। किंग केवल एक नाम मात्र का है, एक टाइटलर है, और ड्यूक, बैरन, नाइट ये बीच के जो इंटरमीडिएट हैं, पावरफुल हैं, तो दैट इज कॉल्ड फ्यूडलिज्म। एंड फ्यूडलिज्म एक ऐसा इंस्टीट्यूशन था, इट वाज सच एन इंस्टीट्यूशन, इट वाज पैन यूरोपियन, इट एक्सपेंडेड टू द डिफरेंट पार्ट्स ऑफ यूरोप। तो एक्चुअली बेसिक प्रॉब्लम वाज दैट कि a feudal lord was owning some jagir. Jagir means land in France, some jagir in Switzerland, some jagir in England or Britain, you can say. So the basic problem was that it was a pan-European institution. This was the one pan-European institution. Second one was, you might have heard about, or later I will teach you in the world history part, but I am sorry, even if you find difficulty, please you people have to tolerate this, because here I am not teaching you the world history, so I cannot go into details. मैं यहाँ आपको गहराई में जाकर नहीं बता सकता, मैं आपको विश्व इतिहास वाले पार्ट में गहराई में बताऊंगा। फिलहाल आप इतना जानिए कि देयर इज अ रोमन कैथोलिक चर्च सिस्टम। चर्च सिस्टम मीन्स कि चर्च सिस्टम वाज कॉल्ड यूनिवर्सल चर्च सिस्टम, एंड दैट वाज स्प्रेड टू द डिफरेंट पार्ट्स ऑफ यूरोप। इट्स हेडक्वार्टर वाज रोम, इट्स ब्रांचेज वेर स्प्रेड टू द डिफरेंट पार्ट्स ऑफ यूरोप। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, यू कैन से in different parts of Europe the branches were, and that is Rome. Rome was the headquarter. So as there was the feudalism was spread in the whole of Europe, and universal church system was the spread to whole of Europe. So the basic problem was that there was not the rise of the nation state. There cannot be a rise of the nation state, but here I am giving you the information. Actually, in course of time, which I cannot explain here, I will just inform you whenever I will teach you the European part of history. Actually, due to certain interior and external factors, internal and external factors, there was the decline of feudalism and there was a Protestant movement. A movement started against the Roman Catholic Church system. Even the universal church system just collapsed. मतलब क्या हुआ कि यहाँ पर एक कुछ आंतरिक और बाह्य कारणों से एक आंदोलन शुरू हो गया, या आंतरिक और बाह्य कारणों से सामंतवाद का भी पतन हो गया और रोमन कैथोलिक जो चर्च व्यवस्था है, ये पूरा जो यूनिवर्सल चर्च सिस्टम है वो भी ब्रेक डाउन कर गया. एक्चुअली अर्लियर व्हाट वाज द प्रॉब्लम, आई एम मेकिंग क्लियर. अब नाउ देयर वाज द राइज ऑफ सम एम्बिशियस रूलर्स इन यूरोप, एम्बिशियस मोनार्क्स इन यूरोप, क्योंकि फ्यूडलिज्म वाज अ ग्रेट बैरियर बिहाइंड द राइज ऑफ द मोनार्की. But as the feudalism declined, so there was the rise of monarchy again, and some of the ambitious monarchs of Europe carved out a separate nation. This is France, this is Britain, this is Spain, this is Switzerland, this is Austria. So in this way you can say some ambitious monarchs of Europe carved out their separate nation, and that is called the nation state. That was called the nation state. You have to tolerate this situation. Today there are some, it is a matter of chance that some disturbances today. So this is the monarch and the nation state, you know. But my student, here my point is that this nation was internally divided. Why? This is priest class, aristocratic class, and commoners. मतलब मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं कि किंग ने उस नेशन के हेड के रूप में एसर्ट किया अपने पावर को कि आई एम द हेड ऑफ द नेशन, बट द पीपल देमसेल्व्स आर डिवाइडेड. क्योंकि इसमें कुछ प्रिस्ट हैं जो पादरी वर्ग उनको बोलते हैं हिंदी में, कुछ एरिस्टोक्रेटिक क्लास मतलब कुलीन है, और कुछ जनसामान्य है. तो जो पादरी वर्ग के लोग हैं, प्रिस्ट क्लास एंड एरिस्टोक्रेटिक क्लास बिलोंग टू द प्रिविलेज सेक्शन ऑफ सोसाइटी, and commoners are deprived from all sorts of privileges. So there is hierarchy among the people. There are some privileged and non-privileged. So the people are divided. So here, my students, this is the type of the nation state in which the monarchy is symbolizing as the unity of the nation, and the monarchy is giving emphasis over the cultural uniformity, linguistic uniformity, administrative centralization, as well as monarch himself projected as the symbol of the nation. For example, Louis XIV made a slogan, I am the state, मैं ही राज्य हूं. मतलब मैं आपको बताना चाहता कि ये बड़ा अजीब तरह का नेशन है, ये मोनार्क का नेशन है, राजा का राष्ट्र है. बिकॉज द मोनार्क हिमसेल्फ इज मेकिंग द क्लेम कि आई एम द नेशन, मैं राज्य हूं, लेकिन मैं राष्ट्र हूं. लेकिन बेसिकली इनका जो राष्ट्र है वो अंदर से विभाजित है, क्योंकि पादरी वर्ग के अपने विशेषाधिकार हैं, कुलीन के अपने विशेषाधिकार हैं, और कॉमन्स जो है वो विशेषाधिकारों से वंचित हैं, प्रिविलेजेस से. यू कैन वेरी वेल अंडरस्टैंड द सिचुएशन. So my students, it is the situation, and in this situation you can say कि later French Revolution occurred, and after French Revolution then emerged modern nationalism. After French Revolution, modern nationalism, and this is known as the second stage. This is the first stage and this is second stage. First stage and that is second stage. Of what happens here? This is internally divided. The king was symbolizing himself as the nation. Here you can see this is the different type of nation now. Why? You will come to realize that basically after French Revolution, in fact, there was the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. On 26th August 1789, the revolutionaries of France declared the rights of men and citizen, and they declared that all are equal. So here you can say that the privileged sections, all the privileges where feudalism was abolished, the privileges of priest class were abolished, and the subject people of the monarch became the citizen of nation. Citizen of nation, in Hindi you may find the word नागरिक. मतलब जब फ्रांस की क्रांति हुई तो फ्रांस की क्रांति ने सारे विशेषाधिकारों का अंत कर दिया, पादरियों के विशेषाधिकारों का अंत कर दिया, कुलीनों के विशेषाधिकारों का अंत कर दिया और सबको कॉमन ग्राउंड पर ला दिया. ऑल जस्ट केम ऑन द कॉमन प्लेटफॉर्म. तो इसलिए इक्वलिटी मतलब मैन ऑन सिटीजन, व्यक्ति और मैन एंड सिटीजन मतलब व्यक्ति और नागरिक अधिकारों की घोषणा हुई और सबको समान धरातल पर ला दिया. एंड इट वाज द टाइम Rousseau's concept of general will was propounded. You might have heard about Jean-Jacques Rousseau, a very radical thinker of his time. He is supposed to be the father of democracy. As he propagated, the sovereignty lies in the common people. As he propagated, the sovereignty lies in the common people. So Jean-Jacques Rousseau became the father of modern nationalism, and the Jean-Jacques Rousseau was the father of, you can say, democracy as well. So in this way you can say the concept of citizen. So now this nation is different from that nation. This was the nation of monarchy, this was a pseudo nation, this was the real nation, because this was the nation of citizen. It believes in the power of the people, and this nation believes in the power of the monarch, but this belongs into the power of the people. So this is the true nation. Okay, I am repeating today and find difficulty. Some of you may find difficulty. I will just give you the suggestion that even if there would be the disturbances in net for 2 minutes, please you will stay on the site. You will not move out from the site, and you will stay. I will just try to make up, at least I will involve you in the class up to 4:55. So please, of the 10 minutes, even for 1 and 2 minutes, there will be the net issue. So please you will stay on the, you can say, on the lecture on the site. Just come to the point. Actually, देखो, this nation state means कि monarch created a nation. They just defined the national boundary. They created a cartography, a geographical boundary, and they created a nation. And then the monarch established a centralized administrative structure. मतलब जो राजा थे उन्होंने एक राष्ट्रीय सीमा खींची और प्रशासनिक केंद्रीयकरण करके और अपने आप को उन्होंने उस राष्ट्र के प्रतीक के रूप में प्रतिबिंबित किया. मतलब देयर वाज अ मोनार्क हु जस्ट ड्रू अ नेशनल बाउंड्री and declared himself to be the representative of the nation, and he declared himself to be the representative of the nation and symbolized the nation. He himself started to symbolize the nation. But this is called nation state because it was the nation of the monarchy, but this nation was internally divided because the subject people of the monarch was divided between the privileged section and non-privileged section. मतलब इनकी जो प्रजा थी वो विभाजित थी, किसमें? तो विशेषाधिकार प्राप्त में और विशेषाधिकार विहीन में, ये विभाजित थी प्रजा जो थी. And you will just talk about the privileged sections. You will come to priest class and aristocratic class. They belong to the privileged section, and commoners belong to non-privileged section, you can say. So there was the clear-cut division between the privileged section and non-privileged section, Okay. So this nation was internally divided, but here monarch was symbolizing himself as the nation. Monarch was symbolizing himself as the nation. But here you are just observing here the next one, the second stage. In second stage you will come to know that French Revolution occurred, and after French Revolution all sorts of privileges ended, and there was the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. And on the basis of the declaration, you can say the subject people of a country was transformed into the citizen of a nation. The subject people of a country were transformed into the citizen of a nation. In this way, you can say there was a great transformation from this status to that status. And it was the nation of the monarch, it was the nation of the people. It was the rise of modern nationalism in Europe. My students, I have to inform you After that, it was the background behind the rise of nationalism in Europe. But my friends, the rise of nationalism in the colony took a different path. It took the different path. So here I am making you clear that whenever you will go through this study material, what you find, in general, we can define nation as a community of people who reside in a specific geographical region and share a common past and culture. In fact, factors like common traditions, culture, and geographical integration play a significant role in the growth of nationalism. Okay? The concept of nationalism first emerged in Western Europe. It evolved during the course of the transformation of feudal system into capitalistic system in Europe. In Europe, you can say the background of nationalism was prepared by the transformation of the feudal system into capitalistic one. मतलब यूरोप में क्या था कि जब सामंतवाद का पूंजीवाद में रूपांतरण हुआ तो यूरोपियन राष्ट्र का विकास हुआ. However, nationalism in India evolved through a different process. It can be understood in the following way. एक earlier phase of proto-nationalism. मतलब अब here I have to make you clear. This is the case of Europe. अब nationalism in India. Nationalism in India. And there would be the rise of nationalism in India in two different stages. First stage, reaction against the exploitation of under the British rule. My students, here I have to make you clear. Actually, this is not simply true of India. This is true of all the colonies. मतलब कि ये केवल भारत के लिए सच नहीं है, यह सारे उपनिवेशों के लिए सच है कि जब यूरोप में जो नेशनलिज्म का उद्भव हुआ, इन राइज ऑफ नेशनलिज्म इन यूरोप वाज द प्रोडक्ट ऑफ द transformation of a feudal system into the capitalistic one. But in case of any colony or India, the first manifestation of nationalism or the first stage of the manifestation of nationalism was reaction against the colonial exploitation. So colonial intervention itself created the situation of rise of nationalism. मतलब कोई किसी को एक तमाचा मारता है और गुस्सा में आकर वो अपना आक्रोश जाहिर करता है, तो पहले हम लोग का नेशनलिज्म कुछ उसी तरह से आया कि ब्रिटिश के कॉलोनियल एक्सप्लॉयटेशन के अगेंस्ट में रेजिस्टेंस के रूप में आया. हाउ डिड यू रेजिस्ट अगेंस्ट द ब्रिटिश एक्सप्लॉयटेशन? मतलब हम लोगों ने ब्रिटिश जो उनके जो शासन में जो शोषण हुआ उसका हम लोगों ने रिएक्शन दिखाया. तो दैट वाज अ रिएक्शन अगेंस्ट द ब्रिटिश रूल. तो दिस स्टेज इज नोन एज प्रोटो नेशनलिज्म. This is called as proto-nationalism. And second stage, just observe here second stage, the second stage. In second stage, impact of Western ideas. अब my students, my point is Western idea मतलब पश्चिमी विचारधारा के प्रभाव के परिणाम स्वरूप. During the first stage, the British exploited India or Indians reacted. Okay, during the first stage, and this reaction was the very, you can say, the blunt reaction in the form of tribal movement, peasant movement, restorative movement, etc., without any cohesive idea of nationalism. It was simply immediate reaction. So that's why you will prefer the name proto-nationalist. Proto-nationalist को हिंदी में कहते हैं आद्य राष्ट्रवादी, मतलब हाफ नेशनलिज्म कह सकते हो आप इसको, क्योंकि इसमें रिएक्शन है. but it was not gaining the support of modern ideas. But the second stage, you can say, ki when British, in course of the exploitation of colonial exploitation of India, the British introduced here certain institutions as well as the English education. As the British introduced English education and certain institutions in India, we will come to realize gradually, as the result of the British exploitation, you can say, British introduced here certain institutions and introduced the English education. So gradually a group of Indians or a handful of Indians came in touch with the Western thinkers, Western scholars, and they just imbibe from there. They can, you can say, they may get the idea of liberalism and nationalism from the West. तो मतलब है कि हमारे यहाँ बुद्धिजीवियों का एक वर्ग है, वो अंग्रेजी शिक्षा के माध्यम से पश्चिमी विचारधारा के संपर्क में आए और वहां से उन्होंने राष्ट्रवाद जैसी चीज से प्रभावित हुए. तो सेकेंड स्टेज में आके वी डेवलप द मॉडर्न नेशनलिज्म. So they are the normally the two stages. So my students, today I prefer to stay from here. Even you people are not owning the study material. So first of the my request is to own my you can say, and I am giving you the homework. If you have to go through what does nationalism imply, Western thought on Indian nationalism, you will go through this page. Then this one, population census, opposition by the Indian scholars, difference between the Western and model Indian model of nationalism, and question hai, that is, and then you will observe the diagram, and if you will have the time, then follow growth of nationalism, proto-nationalist restorative revolts, sannyasi revolt, revolt of tribal revolts. Matlab how many pages you can go through, I will just cover tomorrow. Proto-nationalism at least you have to go through up to proto-nationalism. Okay, so I'll see you tomorrow. Today I am staying here and I'll see you tomorrow.